Hi. Comparing the relationships of absences on gifted and English learner students' reading assessments. My name is Kathleen O'Mara, and I'm a PhD student at Texas Tech University in the Education Leadership Policy Program. Background for this research includes literature that I read this semester by Gottfried, Sheldon, King, and Lear, as well as others, that indicate absences adversely impact assessment scores. Literature focused on gifted students stated that 60% of gifted students don't reach their potential. The impact of this failure of schools to engage these cognitively diverse people limits an untold number of innovations and adversely impacts our society and our future. So the larger question is how to engage with at-risk gifted students to identify them and support their cognitive diversity. The research questions for this study are how do absences impact gifted students, and for comparison, English learner students. English learners were selected because they are a similar size subgroup out of the general population. The second question is, how does the impact of absences on reading scores compare between these two groups, the gifted and English learners? The data. The data came from Lubbock Independent School District. The data sets used in this study were from 2017 to 2019 and were the data sets for student demographics, assessments, and transcripts. The demographic information included gender, race, and the subgroups for free and reduced lunch, English learners, and gifted students. More than 75% of the students in Lubbock ISD receive free or reduced lunches. They are close to 50-50 gender split between male and female, and both the gifted and English learner students are approximately 16% of the student population. Bivariate and multiple OLS regressions were run on the data. The essential understanding is YI is the impacted reading scores. Beta 0 is the population subcategory of gifted or English learner. Beta 1 XI is the coefficient independent variables, in this case the days absent. Here we're looking at the reading scores with the variables days absent for gifted and English learners for the years 2018 and 2019. As you can see, the differences between the subgroups are obvious, with the standard error is similar, which indicates that similar trends within the two groups, and there's a constant for the y-intercept of 1503, which we'll see in the following slides. The p-value in the t-test shows that this is statistically significant. We're looking at EL student data. The mean days absence for this group are 4.75 days, which is more than the average absence in the general population, which is 2.84. With the reading score impacted by a negative 18 with the constant or the y-intercept of 1508. Again, this is statistically significant. Here, the gifted students have an average days absence of 4.92, which is slightly higher than the English learners, but it's also 2 full days more than the general population, who are absent only 2.84 days. Gifted students average 175 points more than their average student. The y-intercept or constant in this regression is 1504. This regression is statistically significant with the p-value showing 0.00 in the t-test. The 2017 comparison of gifted and EL students shows similar numbers of students absent less than 3 days, with the mean scores reported at less than 3 days, 10 or more days, and 20 or more days. The subgroups are shown in comparison with the general student population, which is located in the middle. To show the data in a visual form, you'll notice that in 2017, only the gifted students demonstrated the correlation of a rise in absences showing a decline in reading scores. The general population and English learners subgroup did better when they were absent 10 or more days. In the 2018 data, gifted students lost 50 points when they were absent 10 or more days. This year, English learners lost 25 points, but the general population again did better when they were absent 10 or more days. On this bar chart, it's easier to see that the subgroups declined as expected, but the general population did better after missing more school days. For the 2019 data, all groups come into alignment. This data shows that students who attended school missing 3 or fewer days set the average scores. Each group, gifted, English learners, and the general population, did better when they missed 10 or more school days. Gifted students added as much as 70 points to their scores when they missed 10 or more school days. English learners gained up to 60 points when they missed 10 or more school days, and the general population increased their score again by about 60 points, or an average of 60 points, when they missed 10 or more school days. So these graphs indicate that there is some unknown variable, something's happening, something's changed in the relationship between days absence and the reading scores. So the data calculated in Stata shows that the evidence from LISD is statistically significant, with the p-value showing less than 0.05% across all data. It's interesting to find that when comparing these two subgroups, that there is not a direct relationship between absences and decreased reading scores until a student is missing more than 20 days or a month of school. In the discussion, this study showed that the assumption that there is a direct correlation between absences and decreased reading assessment scores is incorrect. The numbers suggest that students benefit from a few days off, up to 2 weeks. It isn't until 20 days or a month away from school that scores start to decline in all categories. While gifted and English learners begin with approximately a 200-point difference, the relational trends that suggest a few days off of school doesn't necessarily result in decrease in reading scores. The evidence suggests that the relationship of attendance to assessment scores is more nuanced than it was in the past. This study generated a number of questions as a result of its limitations. Some limitations are the number of years assessed, that we were only looking at one school district, and that this is pre-pandemic information. Future inquiry should include, did the districts increase the number of days in the school year? Are students who miss 2 weeks or more likely to make up work than students who miss fewer days, or students who miss more than a month of school? Is the motivation for these subgroups, gifted and English learners, do they have more motivation than the general population? And are the better performing students out of these two subgroups similar? The results of this study are that absences do impact assessment scores, but the outcomes are not as previously predicted. Both subgroups showed similar varied results, which require additional study to understand the additional variables that may have impacted these results. Thank you for your time and attention. Are there any questions?